Here we go. We are live, folks. Welcome to the live stream. What a day it is. Huge eruption at Kilauea Volcano. Triple fountain event. Very rare. As you all have been watching, hello and welcome. I'm your host, Stefan Burns. And I saw this. Yeah, lunch is over. I was taking lunch. I sat down, saw that this happened, immediately spun up the live stream because this is epic. Just absolutely epic. And then just now we've had a 9.1 M-class flare from the sun. We also had a M1 flare just before that, which did launch a solar storm towards Earth. This new one probably launched something bigger, and a magnitude 6.7 earthquake just struck Alaska. It's magnitude 7. They just updated it to magnitude 7. With two big aftershocks too, magnitude 5.6, 5.3. So we're going to go over everything in this video. Like, wow, holy cow, folks, it is happening. So we have a rare triple event underway between the Earth, well, two things on Earth, Alaska and Hawaii, which are both on the daylight side right now, with a double solar flare impact directly to that location. So we're going to do a complete breakdown. Let us look at this earthquake, and then we'll check out the solar flare. Here's our magnitude 7 earthquake. They just upgraded it. This is really quite incredible. We've actually been expecting a big earthquake, magnitude 6.5 or greater, since we had this coronal hole high-speed stream impact. I put out earthquake forecast, and I said that was basically going to be active until the end of the week and the weekend. And well, today is Saturday. So here we have our first magnitude 7 or greater. This is magnitude 7, I believe, since 1010. I think it's all the way going back to October 10th that we had a magnitude 7 or greater earthquake. Now we have a magnitude 7 here in Alaska, two big aftershocks, fairly close to the location of the magnitude 6. Now that was here up in this zone near Anchorage, magnitude 6 up there. So it's not like just a neighborhood walk over, but in the grand scheme of the world, that magnitude 6 recently was one of the last big earthquakes. I think that was the last big earthquake actually, and now we have magnitude 7 just nearby. So that is quite significant. Let's turn on our 30 days, magnitude 4.5 and greater, and we should see both of those pop up. So we see our dates here, 6.8 and 6.4 Japan were on the same day, the 9th, that is, of November. And then we see our 6.6 in Indonesia. That was the 27th November. We had that Alaska quake the same day. And if we look specifically, it was slightly after that Indonesia quake. So yes, the last big earthquake that we had up till today was this earthquake in Alaska. So boom, boom. The past two big earthquakes basically hitting the same location on the globe. Here we have Hawaii, which is doing this rare triple fountaining event. Let me turn that on again for you because that is epic. We have 1, 2, 3. This fountain, so they've been doing some of these double fountainings and kind of going vertical like this. This fountain is stretching so far right now, it's actually knocked out their camera over here. So they have 3 different views, and it just completely cooked that camera. It's totally gone. The live stream now is like glitching out from USGS. So that is a big event. This is the 38th episode, and in some aspects, each episode is been getting bigger than the last. So these eruptive episodes started back last December. It's been now effectively a year where Kilauea has been erupting like clockwork. Here we see I think this is our 3-month view right here. And we see where we have these deflation events. This is our tilt meter. And so we see that the caldera basically will tilt like this as it fills up and then depletes. That tilt angle goes down. You see how it's been fairly regular like this. It's going down right now. Here we see our Morova data, which tells us just how powerful this is. And this is right now nearly at extreme levels. So very few volcanoes will reach that. Kilauea hits extreme levels, very high levels, which is basically where it is right now, right there, all the time. See these eruptions, right? Every single one of those peaks is an eruptive episode. And, well, that one there was a little quieter, but you see that it's been fairly regular, like this, like this, like this, like this. So really incredible stuff. This magnitude 7 now erupting, or basically erupting, you could say rupturing, right? Same word almost. Simultaneous with this eruptive episode at Hawaii, almost on the same part of the globe, almost the same, longitude line. So really quite incredible, almost the same longitude line. And let us look at our solar flare, because we just had this magnitude 9.1 M class flare, as well as a a 1.1 M class flare. So let me just make sure I'm correct with that 9.1 assessment. I think it's an 8.1. So here we can go check out our SUVI imagery. Oh yeah, this is looking really good, folks. Here it is, and here is our big flare coming up once it loads. So they updated the SUVI imagery to last now like 24 hours because we have the Solar Dynamics Observatory main feed down. So instead of this just being like a 3-hour window, it actually shows an entire day now. So if you want live feeds of the sun, this is the place to go. I'll see if I can integrate this with the website, earthevolution.com/energy-analytics. It may not be possible because they have it specifically in this player here. We see these big sunspots, all of them Earth direct right now. This one right here has been very inactive. It's big, some complexity, hasn't been active. The one above it has been very, very active. And as we go forward here, we'll see this big solar flare blast off. And let me actually punch in for you guys right here. And one more. Yeah. Okay. So probably have to scoot over a bit. Watch this first one go off. See that explosion right there? That's a nice, partially Earth-directed solar storm. That coronal mass ejection launched off from that 1.1 M-class flare. And then we have our 8.1 M-class flare right there. Boom! Wow. And that appears to have launched a solar storm our way. And it also this is my first analysis of it, it looks like it's actually kind of shooting it a little bit to the south. So in that case, because it's up in the northern latitude of the sun. So here's basically where the Earth is, right, near the equator. And normally if it's kind of further up to the north or to the south, it'll launch it at that angle. This appears to be purposely, not purposely, but it looks like it's almost going more to the south. And therefore could perhaps be more of a direct shot to the Earth. But we already have a partial solar storm impact coming in from this guy. Though we're still waiting chronograph imagery to see just exactly how much. That looks way more significant, right? Wouldn't you agree? There's the first one. There's the big one. So that has just occurred at the same time. Let us look at our D region model so we can see where these impacts have occurred on the Earth, because this is really pretty amazing. To see a triple event like this is what we talk about a lot, how these things are connected in time, which almost certainly means they're actually connected causally, right? It's not just a temporal correlation, but when you get enough of these, it's like, okay, guys, we can't deny it anymore. There's something to this. So we're seeing effectively the daylight side of the Earth here, and this is where there's a little bit of radio degradation. This is the ionosphere, the D region, specifically the lowest region, about 50 kilometers up. We'll see our first 1.1, I think it is, M-class flare hit over the Americas pretty soon. And then we'll see our big, okay, so that should be the 1.1. And at the very end, just now, we're going to see our 8.1. Should just spike at the very last second, okay? Boom! There we go. So let's go back to that. Let us pause on that last one, okay? Because this right there, so what, we have 2039 UTC. Let me write that down. 2039 UTC for our 8.1 M flare. And we see that's directly over the Pacific. There's Hawaii. There's Alaska, right? It is happening right there. Okay, that's 2039 UTC. Let us check out when that earthquake ruptured in Alaska. here it is, 2041. So the magnitude 7 earthquake, the first magnitude 7 that we've had since October 10th. I'm going to double check that for you in a second. But the first magnitude 7 that we've had in a while was at 2041 UTC. So what's so interesting about that is that it takes light. Well, actually, this is interesting. They must be measuring, yes, okay, so they're measuring these explosions when we pick them up. So 2 minutes after that flare hit the Earth, we had this 7.0 earthquake in Alaska. That's wild. And at the same time, Hawaii was like already doing this eruptive event. That's the first time we've seen a triple fountain event at Kilauea with this sequence of eruptions. So it just speaks to a grander symphony that's playing in the cosmos, right? This isn't a sad 3-string orchestra with, on the corner begging for quarters. We're in the ultimate music hall. I was listening to Bach earlier. It was fantastic. Organ music. Oh my God. You get so hyped listening to Bach. Well, then we turn on the Kilauea live stream. I was getting even more hyped up, and now boom, boom, boom. There we go. This is really what I live for, folks. This is so much fun. So we are going to look at our real-time solar wind to see where that is, because a lot of our prediction for what was going to happen in terms of earthquakes was based off of this. If we look at our real-time solar wind here, we see that our density isn't super low, but it is quite a bit lower than it was during this impact. So here we were like in this kind of like 1 to 2 zone. Then we started to ramp up. We got these high densities, even going all the way up to like 30. Did you see that? 30 particles per cubic centimeter. Then we see our high-speed stream ramps up, going up to 800 kilometers per second at one point, I believe. Despite they're 725. Let's say 720, okay? 700, greater than 700 kilometers per second. We see it slowly decline since then. It's still at 670 approximately. Our density is a little bit higher than we typically track, though I don't have all the answers. I'm still figuring out kind of what conditions are important for these earthquakes. It seems that in general, less than 1 particle per cubic centimeter is the important threshold, but I don't think this is a hard and fast rule. We're definitely at low density, and yeah, boom, magnitude 7 earthquake right in that time window. That was forecasted. First big magnitude 7 in a while. Let's go back to October just to make sure I'm correct with my dates. So we'll look at all the earthquakes 4.5 and greater since the beginning of October. And we should see our largest one being, a 7.6. That was Drake Passage on the 10th. And then our 7.4 Philippines also on the 10th. Interesting that that is a numerology portal, 1010. And then we see today, the 6th, our 7.0 Alaska earthquake. So yes, it has been almost 2 months since there has been a magnitude 7 quake, and we just got it now. And maybe we get more. We see this clustering there, 7.6, 7.4. We often get this earthquake clustering in time. So where you'll have a whole period where there's effectively nothing happening, and then all of a sudden, boom, 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 boom. And it's more than just earthquakes. We're seeing this 8.1 M flare 2 minutes. Us receiving it 2 minutes before the 7.0 earthquake, Alaska, right? M flare hits Earth 2 minutes later, boom, we have that earthquake. Now the actual coronal mass ejection launched by these solar flares, and I'll kind of explain that just a little bit more. I know a lot of you guys know this, but just for anyone that's new, hello and welcome. I'm your host, Stefan Burns. We talk about what's happening here on Earth energetically, looking at the geology, the geophysics, weather, solar activity, space weather, and more. But if we go here, and we're going to have to kind of continuously adjust this, it looks like. So, but see, this is a flash of light. This is an explosion on the sun, first and foremost. This is a big explosion on the sun, okay? And then what happens, that produces a lot of light photons. This is just the light that we see in our environment, though we see visible light. Some people have a little bit of a wider gamut. They can see a little bit more infrared and ultraviolet, but it's very, very minor, okay? This is light across the entire spectrum. Extreme ultraviolet light, X-ray light. We have regular UV light, visible light, because we can actually see it with a standard telescope. If you have the optics, you can see just a flash of regular light. Infrared radiation, radio, microwave radiation. So across the entire light spectrum, there's this increase in flux density, and then that takes 8.3 minutes to reach Earth, because that is the speed of light, 300,000 kilometers per second. So 300,000 kilometers per second, boom, 8.3 minutes later, it hits the Earth, ionizes the ionosphere, and today it hit the Pacific Ocean, sunlit side, which is where Alaska is right now. 2 minutes later, magnitude 7 earthquake hits Alaska on the border of Canada. Hard to, you can't make this stuff up. This is more exciting than most movies out there today, which is why I think people like the channel. So this is what's happening. Let's go back to our 1 day view here. And we'll switch it to newest. We'll see what sort of aftershocks we have. I think it's still just these two. Wow. Yeah. So 5.6 and then 5.3. And actually, it looks like Canada is the one to have got this earthquake. They already labeled it 2025 Yakutat, Alaska earthquake, but it looks like it is technically in Canada, just across the border. Right there in the middle of these epic glaciers. So really cool stuff. Big earthquake. Let's talk about the geology a little bit, okay? So here we have a really significant subduction zone. And let's close this out. This is where the plate is grinding underneath the other plate like this. So it's kind of going like that. And in fact, at subduction zones, people think that the plate kind of goes like this, where it kind of slides under. It actually generally just goes straight down. So once it kind of bends and cracks, it just straight down. And that'll go all the way down to the core mantle boundary often. It may get mixed up a little bit in the mantle, but these are cold, hard, dense slabs. And in general, they have this density to them that's higher. So they'll just kind of sink straight down, which makes the vertical stress dynamics of the Earth quite interesting, if you think about that. We have this jog through a little bit here. And then we have the subduction zone resume. Specifically here, also Cascadia can get magnitude 9 earthquakes. Last one, 1700, big earthquake, magnitude 9 Cascadia. People are worried about that. A little plate here, which is slowly vanishing because you have active spreading here. This is an active spreading center, but then you have subduction there. Eventually, this will probably just completely get consumed by the North American plate. But this is subduction going all the way. At California, you finally get strike slip where the plates grind past each other, and then you have subduction resume in Mexico. And we just had a big magnitude 5.5 in Mexico. Mexico gets a lot of earthquakes. People online are always talking about California. California's doomed. All the sinners live there. You know, it's going to slide into the ocean. It's like, listen, Mexico gets way bigger earthquakes. Alaska gets way bigger earthquakes. Why does everyone care about California so much? Because I can tell you right now, it's not the Californians that are talking about this. It's everyone else in all these places that have nothing better to do. So, like, yes, California can get big earthquakes. Big one is overdue in California based off the geologic record. I have a video in depth on that you can look for on the channel. I released that a few months ago. It goes into the history of earthquakes in California quite extensively, the big ones. But as you see, you know, a magnitude 6 followed by a magnitude 7 in Alaska, back to back in the span of, what was that, the 27th November to today. So let's say less than 2 weeks, right? That's just a regular occurrence for the Alaskans, basically. That's no big deal, right? And actually, it's the Canadians this time. So we get big earthquakes around the globe. And the antipode to this, I believe, let's look that up, because the antipode, I believe, is over here. Or no, I think it actually might be, let's check it out. So let's get like the closest town we can find here. And let's type in White Whitehorse. I think Whitehorse will be close enough for our purposes because that should actually show up on the map. So let me pull this up. Because we have been tracking earthquakes in terms of their antipodes, we've been having a lot of antipodal earthquakes, which means the opposite side of the globe. They haven't been perfectly antipodal, but they've been close. So what we can type in Whitehorse, and I actually think that's Canada. I think that was Canada. Let's see if it pops up. No. Let's go back. It is Canada, but it's not popping up for that location. So what is this? Yakutat. So let's type that in. Yakutat. Let's see if that gets it. That basically gets it. Here is our antipodal location. Because it's at such a high latitude, we also have it pretty far down to the south. So actually that may even get Alaska in there. So basically it's directly under the Cape of Good Hope, the Horn of Africa. It's right down here. So let's go back to our USGS map and see what we got. And actually they kind of cut off Antarctica on this map. But we have it down here. And it looks like it's actually even a little bit further, but we do have a mid-ocean ridge down here. So it'll be interesting to see whether we get some sort of earthquake action along this mid-ocean ridge following that magnitude 7 earthquake. I think there's a heightened probability of that now. Thankfully, if something happens over there, it's not going to really affect anyone. This geologic feature is quite weird. That's a little bizarre. I've never really, there's so many things to look at on the Earth and plate tectonics and such. It is close to Bouvet Island, which has a lot of mystery and intrigue surrounding it. But I think it's actually maybe even getting to Antarctica itself. It seems to be quite southern. And yeah, I don't know exactly. I wish they showed Antarctica on this. It's kind of an oversight not to show Antarctica on this map here. But it's quite south of Africa. So it looks like it's going to be, but the thing is, okay, so if you zoom out kind of a little bit, these antipodal quakes often aren't perfectly antipodal, like exactly opposite. There's going to be some deflection to them. Not much, but some. So I would say that we should watch this area for a magnitude 5.5 plus in the coming days. Unless it's going to be bigger. If it's a bigger one, it's kind of a longer time window. But often the antipodal action is pretty quick. So if we see that, then that's kind of a little bit of a hint that that's the mechanism at play. And that there's some sort of vertical stress dynamic that exists. I'm seeing someone in here saying Alaska had its 5th earthquake today within the last hour. This should be updating basically as fast as it goes. I mean, there's plenty of earthquakes in Alaska, as you can see these other ones here. But yes, it looks like we've just had a 4th one load up, and maybe this individual is talking about a different app, which is a little faster, quicker on the draw. So magnitude 7 there, Canada technically, 5.3, Alaska 5.0, and a 4.3. All happening simultaneously, with a big solar flare, which we may have, we can refresh this. Let's watch this solar flare one more time. But I think we're also perhaps getting our first coronagraph imagery of these. So we'll look at that. Then we're going to go back to Kilauea because that's just too awesome. There's our first one. And then here is our second one right there. Yeah, so that is a nice eruption right there, an 8.1. Let's check our coronagraph imagery. Good thing I have good eyesight, man. And let's see what this pops up with. This is for the past 24 hours, and we should see at least that 1.1 start to show up near the end. Looks like it's just coming in. If you check the very end, you see this very tiny push. See that right there? It's too early to say anything. And that's at 2045. So that big one occurred at 2041. Or sorry, 2039 was the time for the 8.1 M class flare. This is only going up to 2045. And it takes some time for it to go from the sun out to the coronagraph view. So maybe our C2 is more up to date and shows us something, but I'm not necessarily counting on it. I'll post updates on X. My X account is @Stefan Burns, so you can check that out. And as soon as we get some imagery here, I'll send that to you. But we see that first push of energy coming out right there from that 1.1 M class flare. But as of right now, we don't have strong confirmation of how much that's going to impact the Earth, but it does appear to be Earth directed to some degree based off of just a straight imagery of the sun. And let's go back to our X-ray flux. So a pretty dramatic ramp up quickly in solar flux from the sun, specifically these extremely highly vibrational wavelengths. As we see, 1.1, 8.1, I think this is a 1.1. Yeah. So maybe we get an X flare soon. Maybe we get multiple. It's possible. They're exactly Earth direct right now. That sunspot in particular is exactly Earth direct. So this may be all she wrote. This could just be the warm-up, folks. We could just be getting started with the solar activity. Wow, really incredible stuff. And to cap it off, we have this epic eruption at Hawaii, which is still going. It is not ending. 1, 2, 3, triple eruptive fountaining event, episode 38. Now, Kilauea's been erupting for a year straight. And often it goes through these cycles, but it's usually not this regular and consistent. If you're living in the United States at this point in time, or even Europe if you want to take the trip, or wherever, but you have a pretty good shot of booking a 2-week trip to Hawaii and looking at the tilt data and figuring out the reoccurrence interval and putting that next eruptive time window in the middle of your trip and actually getting a chance to see it. Just, you have to make sure you're on top of it in terms of tracking the data and watching the live cams. But that's what I did in August. I was like, I need to see this because maybe Kilauea goes cold for 5 years, 10 years, 50 years after this happens. We don't know. You know, volcanoes turn on, sometimes they turn off. Hawaii in general is very active, but if you want to see Earth in action, Goddess Pele expressing at the surface, like you can do so fairly reasonably because these episodes are so regular in their periodicity. We can look at our tilt data really quick, USGS tilt data, and I'll show you just how consistent this has been across time. It's really quite remarkable. Go back here. So here we have our tilt data. This is linked in the video description, and we see that we're getting actually fairly close to the end of this eruption. It's going quick. So once we get to about here or so, it's going to wrap up. We got maybe another 90 minutes, I would say, for this. Is that right? I think so. Interesting to note about the last one. Check this out. So right as the last one finished up, there was a magnitude 4.6 earthquake that struck Volcanoes National Park. Exactly what it ended. Right there. Check that out. And what was funny about that is that, you know, you love the official agencies, like the people there that are doing some good work and releasing the data, but sometimes they're a little clueless as to like the larger dynamics at play. And they're like, this volcanic eruption and this earthquake have no relation to each other. It's like, guys, that earthquake occurred exactly when the fountaining ended in the same location. Of course they're connected together. You see it right there. That right there is showing that quick sudden jolt to the tilt meter. So you gotta smile and laugh at some of this stuff. But here we can see, going back to December, these eruptive episodes like this. And here's the longer term trend for the tilt for the past 5 years. So there's been overall inflation at Kilauea now, going back to the end of 2020. And so you think that these are discharging the chamber? Actually, the whole thing is basically filling up. These are small chambers that are releasing. This is not the big show. It could be much bigger. And so we see that really clearly right here. The overall trend is still upwards for Kilauea. So incredible triple fountaining event at Kilauea Volcano right now on the daylight side of the Earth, the same side of the Earth that got hit by that 8.1 M-class flare at 20:39 Universal Time today, December 6th. And then 2 minutes later, a magnitude 7 earthquake struck the border of Alaska and Canada at 20:41 Universal Time. Incredible, incredible stuff. I've been your host, Stefan Burns. Thank you all so much for watching. I'm wishing each and every single one of you well. Please take care of yourselves. I'm going to keep the live stream up so you can all watch this, but I'm going to sign off from now. So really appreciate all of you being here, the amazing community that we've created. It's really a real blessing and a joy to have created this and to see it flourish so much. So know that I'm here for you, and all of us together are here for you. And the earth, the sun, the cosmos is here for you. I don't think that any of these things are out for us. We have to work constructively, cooperatively, coherently with these larger energies and forces for us to naturally flourish in our life, to express our creative energies, to be self-actualized, fulfilled, find love, all that and more. So that is the larger message behind this. I'm interested in what's happening with the earth. I share that with you guys, what's happening with the sun, the cosmos, everything. You know, just some cool science geeky stuff, but we're interested in going beyond that, seeing the connections, the beautiful symphony of the universe. So hope you all appreciate that. Smash that thumbs up button, help the channel grow, really helps it out. It does. Subscribe to see more content like this, and I'll see you all in the next video. Boom shakalaka, I am out.